All right, it is 6:30 PM. I'd like to call this special regular meeting of the Old Saybrook Police Commission to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any comments from the public? None here. How about on the virtual audience? Please raise your hand if you have a comment.
No hands are raised.
All right, let's go on to the next agenda item. Meeting minutes for our regular meeting of April 22. I invite a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Thank you, Jen. Great job on that.
Okay, the minutes of our special meeting of April 16, 2024. I invite a motion to approve those as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections, comments, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Correspondence, I have none to report other than what I've already circulated. Does anyone else have any correspondence? Okay, executive reports, chief.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this muggy edition of the Top Floor Police Commission here. The 25 budget process, as everyone knows, the budget passed successfully. I think there were only 20 no votes, if I got that right, 20. I think at this point in my career, I could probably name all 20 people who voted no on the budget. But thank you all for your work on the budget. We appreciate the townspeople who chose to show up that day to vote in the affirmative, so we can continue funding the police operation in the most efficient, effective, and safe manner as possible. The fiscal 24 budget is in front of you. Obviously, this is the May meeting, and so I will unfreeze the budget towards the end of this month anyways, and we'll take a look at some things that we did not purchase over the year that we need to purchase now. And we will give you our final budget report. I think we've been doing that in August. I think that's usually when it's finally done, but we are going to end in the black. There's not an issue. We'll be
So
certainly on budget.
we won't see anything for June.
We will give you that. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It just won't be the final accounting.
Okay.
The final accounting doesn't really come out until July, because expenditures go into the middle of July for the previous fiscal year. And then we wait for the accounting department to say, this is officially how you end it. We check and balance it with our internal records, and then we share that with the commission.
Okay.
So I'll entertain any questions that anybody has, but again, I had zero concerns with where we sit.
I got a question, but I don't know when to ask it. That's the crazy thing.
Now seems like a great time.
Okay, if somebody has a cyber attack at their house, that their bank was done, or if or a business gets a cyber attack, how do we handle those issues in Old Saybrook?
Yeah, so they come to the police department, they make a criminal complaint, and we investigate it.
Okay, so it's like that. Okay.
Yeah, we've arrested people in multiple states before. For that, we've had lots of money refunded to our town residents. So it's something we take really, really seriously. It's a very timely investigation. It takes a lot of personnel time, a lot of search warrants, a lot of back and forth with court, but we've had some great success. A lot of agencies just take the report and say, here's the report number for your bank, go do that. We see it as a real crime, and because it is, and we investigate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we've had some very considerable success.
Very, very much so. When you put the right people on the right task, you get the right result.
Okay,
You want me to just keep going?
sure.
Oh, great. The off-budget accounts, as normal, you were supplied with that information. If anyone has any questions, they can tell me where their question is, and I will look at it and see if I can answer it.
I think it's pretty clear.
I think it's good.
Great, okay.
Okay.
Personnel matters, we sadly do have a resignation. I'll circulate the letter. Patrolman Ramos is leaving. He doesn't find Old Saybrook to be busy enough for him. And so he's going to the Waterbury Police Department. If you remember, he came from NYPD, wanted to change, told us in our meeting. I think Renee asked him the question about 17 times about the change in pace, and he is seeking to go to Waterbury.
Well, he'll be busy there.
So his last day with us is Friday.
What about the lieutenants update. Can you give us any?
Sure, I have that under police contract negotiations, but I could do that right now if you want.
Sure.
So I have compiled a draft MOU for two things related to negotiations. One of which is speeding up the patrol sergeant position that we talked about the last meeting. So we only have one person interested. We talked about why do the delay in, 3 or 4 months of reading books to take a test on those books. So the union is in agreement. So that draft MOU is with Labor Council. And hopefully we'll be able to get that signed this week by the first selectman in the union. The lieutenant memorandum of understanding is also at Labor Council. And so hopefully that could be worked out and maybe presented to the union on Friday.
Okay.
So we're moving right along. So what I've done with that, just so everyone knows, instead of waiting for the final salary determination on the new collective bargaining agreement, what I did is I put, let's pay the lieutenant X dollars amount higher than whatever the top step master sergeant is. So that delta will always be present, but we don't have to wait to find out what that number will be to then propose a different number. And that will speed up the process.
Is that delta something you can share with us?
Well, it's all part of the negotiation process, so I'd rather not do that.
Okay.
But it's in line with our budget. That was just successfully passed. Going back to professional development, Sergeant Hardy just finished a methods of instruction certification course. So now he will have to find an area that he is technically proficient in to become an instructor in. So the path is you learn how to be an instructor, and then you have to find an area where you have technical competency and then you'll become an instructor in that area. So I'll be meeting with Sergeant Hardy over the next couple of weeks to try to identify an area where he believes he's technically proficient. So we can have that conversation, and then he'll develop a lesson plan that gets submitted to the police academy. They review it and they decide if he can be an instructor in that specific area.
Hopefully not bicycle.
Well, we'll find a spot where he's good at. So I
He's good at
suppose
that.
bicycle could be a thing. And that actually is an instructor certification through a private organization, but we'll work with him to find something that will be beneficial, not only to him, but also to the department, right? We don't want someone to have an instructor certification that doesn't benefit the entire agency. That's the entire point of making new instructors. So we'll look for him to be an instructor, hopefully in one of the core areas that we need for recertification to keep that in-house as much as possible.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
I haven't asked this in a while, but what's going on with
I didn't know which.
Cameron? Because
Well, we've been back to work.
oh, he's back
for
to work.
months. Yeah,
Okay.
he's doing great. Yeah, let me touch on that. So Pat
Yeah.
Hanley is back to work. His job kind of got reworked a little bit. He's focusing more on projects that need to be accomplished more than daily cleaning tasks.
Okay.
And he has been excelling in this new role. I literally could not be happier at his job performance and how he has adapted to kind of the new rules and the new format of his job. And he's, clicking things off the list. He was out for almost a year and a half. So there's a lot of projects that didn't get done. And so he's accomplishing them, and he's doing very, very well. I'm very, very pleased. Thank you for asking.
Awesome.
Is this the young fellow that was in negotiations?
No. Pat Hanley's a custodian.
No, I'm talking about.
No, he's not in negotiations.
Okay,
No.
he wasn't there, okay.
Nope.
Is he one of our only Spanish speakers?
No. Nope. We have other Spanish.
Well, I know,
speakers.
what, okay, yeah,
He's one of them.
one of them,
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
but,
Okay.
no. So you have the activity report.
Mhm.
And as far as police contract negotiations go, with the exception of the MOUs I just talked about, I believe our next session's Friday,
The 24th,
Friday the 24th. So that would be this Friday, right? The 24th.
24th, and then the 28th as well.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that, because I forgot to put it in my calendar.
All right, any other questions on the executive reports? Let's move on to discussion and possible action on the 2024 golf cart registration fees.
Yeah, so some low hanging fruit for the police commission until Friday night, when it became a significant topic of discussion. So sorry if you did not have all the information that you thought you needed to be prepared for this. So this is, I don't know, 13th, 14th, 15th year of the golf cart registration program. So it's something new, very successful. About 900 golf carts were registered last year. 900. 100 of them were vanity plates, 800 were regular number plates. So each year we give you the proposal, 25 for the first golf cart at an address, 20 for the second, 15 for the third, and $45 for a vanity plate. My suggestion is this year, as it was last year, that there be no increase to our citizens who wish to register their golf cart. You know, for some, it's fun. For others, it's quality of life. So there are many, many people in our beach areas that would not be able to get to the beach mobility wise if they did not have their golf cart. And so this is much as a recreation, maybe for the younger family, but a really a necessity and a quality life enhancement for those in our senior community. So the motion that I suggested last year, which I'll suggest this year, is a motion to approve the 2024-2025 golf cart registration fee schedule as presented and recommended by the chief of police.
I invite someone to make such a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Is there a second? Any discussion? Who seconded?
Me.
Thank you.
discussion on my part. When I asked you about information, I was looking for your recommendation for what your fee schedule would be. And the answer that came back was that I had everything I needed.
You did, because I was going to make an oral report to the commission.
Okay,
So had you specifically said, chief, I would like to know what your recommendation is, I would have provided that. for you.
okay, so
It's not what you asked.
that's, fair enough. But last year, this was given to us.
Correct. And this year I
So-
chose to make a verbal report.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say the
How'd you
same
get
thing
that?
that I say every year.
Okay,
I
get
still
this.
don't understand the
Intended to.
discount on the second and third
Oh.
golf carts. It takes just as much effort to process those applications and to have license plates. And as far as quality of life, I understand, but last time I checked at Nolan and Penwood, I don't think there's a ramp to take the golf cart down. So I don't understand why people can't pull to the top of their road, park their golf cart and walk across. When they cross Maple Avenue, they're crossing a state road. And I don't know how many times they've just darted out and they're right there. I mean, I don't know. I know you've said to me, take pictures of it. I guess that's what I have to do, video and take pictures, but I think there's a lot of irresponsible golf cart owners. There's probably some that are responsible, but there's a lot more that aren't. They have their underage kids driving them. One lady drove by, she had her glass of wine, she's shaking. I'm like, really? So those are my two things. I think the carts are driven where they're not supposed to be. There was one at Ben and Jerry's last summer. Think Main Street is a state road and I'm not sure what beach they're getting to on Main Street. And again, I do not agree with the fee scale.
I could comment only for the simple fact that our place in Vermont, we have snowmobiles and the snowmobiles have scales for different. If you have two, or if you register one or two, it's less and less. So that each household doesn't get hit quite as hard.
Right, and my argument last year was when you have more than one vehicle, you don't go to motor vehicle and they say, we're gonna give you a break on your second and third car.
True.
I just want to get that out there because that is how I feel about this. I'll be fine with people, I'll go along with this, but I don't understand that.
I'm concerned about kids that are underage that don't have a license driving. And I mean, the only way you can do that is if somebody's on patrol, and I understand that.
So I think what the answer to all of your questions are, we enforce the golf cart laws just like we enforce motor vehicle laws, because in fact, they're motor vehicle laws. And so you could say that many people drive their cars irresponsibly, and we do the best we can to generate the voluntary compliance of the law. With this particular program, what's interesting is when you renew your registration, the DMV doesn't send you a list of rules they want you to follow. They just assume you know what the statutes are. When you renew your golf cart registration or you register your golf cart for the first time, we actually give you a set of the rules. So once a year, we're actually providing everyone with the rules of the road for how to operate their golf cart. So that's pretty good from the
Is
education
there a
standpoint.
map though that shows them like the causeway, you're not to drive it across the?
No, we
causeway?
don't give them a map, Renee. We just tell them where they can and
Right, but
cannot.
there's a lot of golf carts that go across the causeway that drive down to Saybrook Point so they can drink there and then drive back home.
We'll take a look.
Okay,
No, the thing that I have a question.
I understand we can't just have a golf cart patrol. I do understand
Right,
that.
I mean,
I'm not being
You gotta
ridiculous.
look at the grand scheme of the policing job, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. I
So-
understand. We don't have a ton of time to dedicate to that, but it's just, it's very frustrating when you're trying to drive on the causeway and they're there and you know that they're headed over Fresh Saw or they're coming back and.
The good news is we do have case law after Old Saybrook. We were the first agency in the entire state of Connecticut to arrest someone that's successfully prosecute them for driving under the influence while operating a golf cart. So, there's that.
This document we have here, it says, whereas the Old Saybrook Police Commission shall set the fee. So if we decided as a group that we wanted to change them,
That's why it's on the.
That's why it's on
The
the
exact
agenda.
reason
We
why it's on the-
revisit it every
If it
year.
wasn't in that resolution, I'd be doing this myself. But it's in that resolution, which requires me to bring it to the police commission.
and how long has that price been that way?
Easy 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
You don't think it's time to increase it by $5?
I don't, you know why? I think that everyone that lives in Old Saybrook, there's a large percentage that are struggling from day to day, right? Inflation has been out of control. The last thing I want to do as a law enforcement agency is impose another fee hike on our citizens.
Okay.
So if we can do this and we can be still successful with it, why are we imposing any pain on our citizens? It makes no sense.
Good, thank you for that answer.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? All right, let's call the question. All in favor of the chief's recommendation, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? None.
Great. Now Jen sends out 900 letters. Congratulations.
Okay, item 7, discussion and possible action regarding alleged bylaws infractions. Jessica, you are the initiator, so let me turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, actually Carl's the one who requested it be on the agenda last meeting.
Oh,
So if he wants to go, or I can go, whatever you.
I can go. I have a concern that some correspondence was received by the chairman that was important enough for him to contact the first selectman and then contact the lawyers to get an opinion on the correspondence. And which costs taxpayer money, because the lawyer doesn't write a report or whatever for free. And then being a commission member, not know a thing about it until the chairman called me and said, well, this is what happened. And I've gotten a letter from the lawyer and now I'm happy with the result. That is not a commission, that should be a commission decision to where to go with this. I'm just wondering, I'm just gonna ask you, why didn't we receive copies of this like our bylaws state?
okay. Jessica?
Sure, and I'll just state the specific bylaws that I think were not followed. One of them would be the code of conduct.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yes.
Commissioner, I want to interrupt. It sounds like you just kind of dismissed his question, and
No,
I don't think that's what you're doing.
No,
But for everyone
I
watching, you just might want to explain. what
I
you're-
intend to respond to
Okay.
both after
Yeah,
It
hearing
just seemed,
both.
if you didn't know, it seemed like you're being
Well,
dismissive, so
but-
I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you for the observation,
no
but
problem.
Jessica complained of much the same thing, and I'm going to listen to her too.
oh. Well, do you think that maybe you should go over like the steps that you, like what happened, and then that way anybody who's watching.
I
can
want to
follow
hear,
along?
you accuse me of violating a whole bunch of bylaws, and I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay, well, commissioners should be attentive to and listen to citizens' concerns regarding the Department of Police Services, but in order to protect the due process right of the employees of the department, commissioners should not engage in individual investigations concerning personnel-related issues.
Are you saying that I didn't listen to citizen concerns,
I'm-
or are you saying that I didn't,
You
that I
conducted an
conducted an
investigation.
individual
You
investigation?
conducted the
Okay.
individual
Literally.
investigation. You did. There's no question about that. Individual commissioners should not hold themselves out as representing the commission unless they have been authorized to do so by the commission at a duly noticed meeting.
Did I violate that?
Yes, you did.
By doing what?
Well, I don't know. Once you tell everybody what you've done, maybe we can comment on that, but you,
So you're accusing me without knowing what the violation is?
I know what you've done, but what I'm
Mhm.
saying is that we talked about this in our caucus. We have not talked about this in front of Jackie and Carl. So why don't you go over what happened from the second that you got the letter from Renee or the email? And then maybe it would make more sense of what bylaws were violated.
I will
that's
do
not-
that. I will do that, but I'm going to hear you out first.
Well, you're questioning everything
He's not questioning,
Marketing.
you gotta tell him what you think he violated.
once he
Okay,
goes through the
one at a
due
time.
process,
One at-
I don't understand, like, maybe Jackie and Carl aren't aware of what you've done from step one to the final thing,
Well,
where you
that's
went
gonna-
and
That's
contacted.
gonna open up a totally different discussion.
Well,
Right now-
here we go. Let me just say, Jessica, I turned this over to you. You suggested Carl go first. I honored that. Now it's your
And
turn.
I'm reading the bylaws, but you're asking me how you did it. How does it make sense?
No, I'm just asking you, which one did you say I violated?
All of the ones I'm reading are the ones
Yeah,
that I
but
think
what
you
numbers are
violated.
they?
Well, no, you don't have to, she doesn't have to give the numbers, but I asked her the first one. She said I didn't violate not listening to it.
That's one whole
Citizen.
bylaw,
That's
okay?
right. And,
Right.
but the part of it that you say I violated is that,
That you engaged in an individual investigation
Okay.
concerning, okay. The second one, individual commissioners should not hold themselves out as representing the commission unless they've been authorized to do so by the commission at a duly noticed meeting. You were not authorized to go to the selectman, to contact an attorney, to ask for a letter from his employer. You were not authorized to do any of that. That was all your decision.
okay,
All right, and then I'm sure there's more. Commissioners understand that the commission authority rests only with the whole commission assembled in a duly noticed meeting. You had no authority to do that. That's that. And what else? I mean, we went through all the, and then the last one. Oh, well, Old Saybrook Police Commissioners will, number one, adhere to the commission bylaws. That's number one of our code of conduct. Number seven, abide by decisions reached by the commission as a collective body. I mean, all of this really dwindles down to, you didn't come to us, you didn't have the approval, you did it on your own. And there's repercussions for that, because what you decide to do represents all of us. It looks bad or good upon all of us. And for me, this was a horrible, horrible decision. It's embarrassing.
okay.
So that's my opinion thus far, but I really think that you should go over the events that led to some people thinking that you violated the bylaws.
Well, you also, in your written thing, have complained about some other stuff.
Oh, yes, when you wanted to form the subcommittee to make the list of responsibilities for second in command. You went to Carl Fortuna first and asked if he would be on it, and then Carl Fortuna set a time of when but you never even asked us if we wanted to form a subcommittee. You just went ahead and did it,
I didn't form a subcommittee.
but you
I
wanted to.
explored interest, yes.
Right, but who did you explore interest with first? Us or outside sources?
I think the first person I spoke with was Carl Fortuna.
And he's
Exactly.
an ex officio member of the police
Yeah.
commission, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, regardless, you should have come to us first, because then when you presented that to us, you said, well, Carl can only meet at this time. Well, sorry, us first, like, we get to decide when we meet. So that's just another one.
We are the
Okay.
commission. I mean,
Right.
it feels like we're outside looking in. All these decisions happen and things happen, and none of us are aware of it until after it happens. Or it gets thrown at us, and it's like, well, we discussed it in a caucus. Well, that's, the caucus is a guise for an illegal meeting.
I just want to say one thing, that is not the order of how things went, and my concern is.
No, the
if we
caucus
start
came
discuss-
after all
If we
this, yeah.
start discussing the order of things, that's gonna get us into something that probably should be held in executive session.
Well,
I
we
did
should-
ask for an executive session meeting. for
Well,
this.
we can
But
discuss.
I mean,
order
the
of what
townspeople
happened.
need to know what's going on.
Well,
here.
also circulating a letter to everybody she originally sent to us. I mean, that's basically having a legal meeting through email.
But the bottom
I didn't
line
send it
is, if
to
we're gonna talk about anybody in the police force, whether it's the chief down to patrolman, we need to go in executive session.
Right, but
But we're
right
not
now,
talking about the police. We're talking about what Chubb did. All I want him to do is go through his order of events from what he did when he got the email from Renee up until he told us.
Why
about
didn't
it.
we know about it? Why did,
Okay.
we know about the change of the name of the police department. That was important. That came in my email, but I didn't get an email about a personnel issue, which was important enough to call in an attorney and the town leader. That floors me. It absolutely floors me.
Okay, I'll address that.
All right.
Chief, I asked you if you wanted any of this in executive session. You were going to consult with somebody. and get
Oh,
back to me?
absolutely. I want this completely in public session
Got it.
with the
Okay,
video and audio running.
okay. Let me start by addressing what you addressed last, the subcommittee. We haven't actually constituted that subcommittee. I thought you were talking about the earlier subcommittees that we had. You complained about those?
Well, yeah, those were just other examples of how I think that you have been, but this is the one that really like, that broke the camel's
Okay.
back, the straw that broke the camel's
Well,
back or whatever.
As I understand our bylaws, although the chair actually has the authority to appoint subcommittees,
Mhm.
the way I've chosen to exercise it is by raising it at a meeting, soliciting interest, and listening to concerned people. I remember distinctly, my asking Joe Maselli if he wanted to serve on one bylaw committee, because on the bylaw committee, I thought he would be more likely interested in that than Carl. I asked Carl.
By law committee, I thought they were fine.
I asked Carl if he wanted to serve on the subcommittee dealing with evaluation instrument and protocol. I didn't ask you to serve on the bylaws committee because you had expressed a complete lack of interest in the bylaws. I didn't ask you to serve, Jessica, on the evaluation committee because the chief had made it plain before the meeting that if the evaluation subcommittee included you, Carol Manning, or Renee, he was not going to cooperate with it. And I thought, why put that hurdle in front of us? Why not just skip it? So
I think, well, in our,
that's why
yeah.
I
Well,
argued for
right,
those memberships on those subcommittees in a public meeting so that the public could see.
no, and honestly, the bylaw thing, so in our bylaws, it says that you are only to act as an ex officio member on the subcommittees. You are not supposed to take up a whole spot on those. And you
Actually, I
did.
read it as saying that there's nothing in the bylaws that says how many people are on a subcommittee. So the fact that I appointed myself, I think I have the right to do that.
Well, no, but you don't. You're supposed to act as an ex officio. I mean, the whole bylaw thing, we took 2 years because it was your baby. When we nursed it for 2 whole years until we came down with these. And then for you to go and pull something like this, which is what we should be talking about, not everything else, is just, it blows my mind.
Okay.
It blows my mind.
Now I will turn to what happened here.
Okay.
First of all, the internal announcement from a local or regional company that was addressed to its employees, not addressed to us, I didn't regard as commission correspondence. I regarded it as a piece of evidence. And the evidence that it was very strongly suggested that our chief of police had taken a full-time job with that company. I am deliberately refraining from using the company's name.
Yeah, you should, because it could open up liability to all of us.
I don't, well, you can have that view.
I do.
Evidence of what, though? What is it?
See,
evidence of?
we didn't get a chance to see that, so we have no idea where it went from there.
And what evidence? Like, what is it evidence of?
Where did it come from? Is it poisonous tree stuff? We're not lawyers, we don't know that, but we should have come up with a plan to go forward.
Well,
And you went forward
Okay.
without the commission's
all right.
approval.
Carl, I let you speak. Now I'm asking that you let me speak.
Go.
You asked what happened.
Yeah.
I'm telling you
Jessica asked.
what happened. Renee received this piece of paper. Renee shared it with me. My immediate reaction was, this was something that was serious or could be serious if it was real. And if it were real, it had to be on an agenda for our next police commission meeting or
Or a
maybe
special
even a special meeting.
Yep.
But I didn't know that it was real. It was not dated. What I had wasn't, there was no signature. So I didn't know if it had already been issued, if it was a draft, if it was spoof. I didn't know what it was. But if it was real, it was serious. Sufficiently serious that I thought our first selectman should know about this too, because if our chief of police has already taken a full-time job with this company, which is what it sounded like to Renee and to me, and when Carl Fortuna saw it to Carl Fortuna, and when council saw it to council. If it were true, it was something that the commission had to act on, and that the commission should have known about in advance.
Our bylaws say that you're supposed to tell everybody. That's what they say, the ink wasn't even drying.
Carl, I'm asking you again,
All right, go
let
ahead.
me go,
finish.
let me have my piece after you. I
Well,
let
you
have
interrupted
yours,
me a few times
and-
too.
And
so-
I will let you comment
All
to your
right.
heart's content
All right,
upon the conclusion.
all right.
So to me, as I said, this was not correspondence to the commission. It was evidence that was of interest. When I spoke with Carl Fortuna after Renee sent it to him,
No,
Carl-
I didn't send it. I
I'm
don't
sorry?
think, I don't think I sent it.
I thought I asked you to send it to him.
Oh, okay, maybe I did. Maybe he has it. I can check the messages.
If you didn't, I did.
Okay,
In any event, within hours, I spoke with Carl Fortuna. Mr. Fortuna cautioned me that I should run this by council. And the council that he suggested was Pat McHale, our Labor and Employment Council for the town. I suspect I know what his reasons were. I suspect they were no different from mine, having heard his suggestion. But I'm not going to speculate on his reasons. I will only report that he, like me, interpreted this internal announcement as evidence that the chief had already taken a job and started work at this company. I spoke with counsel and said, if this is what it appears to be, I need to have a meeting of the commission to address it. Counsel suggested, if you don't know what the facts are, at least have a conversation with the chief before you do anything. That made sense. I said, fine. I called the chief. The chief confirmed that this was real, it wasn't a fake. But he also said, as I suspected that he would, that this was nothing more than another consulting engagement through his Hauser Public Safety Consulting firm. I had expected that he would say that. However, I was concerned that, oh, and if that were the case, then this was a nothing burger, no, never mind, no need to have it on an agenda at a police commission meeting, no need to do anything. If this was just another consulting job he had. However, knowing that to some extent this was already circulating publicly, I thought it likely that this could come to the attention of other members of the commission, other members of the public, newspapers, who knew what. And I thought I owed it to the town to ask for some evidence that this was nothing more than Chief Sparrow said it was. And I suggested to him several different kinds of things from his own records that would be satisfactory. My recollection is that the chief suggested a phone call from the company. He wasn't committing to it, but he said he would think about it and talk about it. And I told him that would be fine with me too. But I said it had to be sufficiently before the next meeting that if I didn't hear from them or from the company, this was going on the agenda. I think it was the day before the agenda had to go out that I called the chief for the second or third time following up. And he told me that the letter had gone out. I didn't get a letter. What happened was the company sent the letter to Pat McHale. Pat McHale sent me the letter. I now was satisfied that this was nothing other than what Chief Spera had said it was, an engagement, a private consulting engagement from Hauser Consulting, and therefore I didn't put it on the agenda. But knowing that this might come up, as I said before, I'm made sure that every commissioner had the original piece of evidence, the correspondence from the company, because I viewed that as correspondence with a commission, even though it was addressed to the lawyer, because it was there to satisfy my request in my eyes. And I called each of you to fill you in on what had happened and what my thought process was. I think, as the chair of the commission, one of my primary responsibilities is setting the agenda. And I think in setting the agenda, I don't want to put stuff on it that doesn't belong there. And if this was nothing more than a consulting job by the chief in his private business with a private company, it didn't belong on our agenda. If it was different from that, it absolutely belonged on our agenda. And I wanted to know which it was before I made a decision. That is what happened.
Chuck, you left out like tons of facts there,
Yeah.
like a ridiculous amount of facts. I mean, if that's your story publicly to the commission, I have to say that you left out a lot of facts.
Are you done, Chubb, or do you
I'm-
have more?
I'm done.
Well,
Oh.
just from my purview anyway, the correspondence came from Pat McHale and didn't go to you. And the reason it probably did that is because it would have gone to the commission if you had approached this from the commission. In other words, we should be informed on these things. We should go as a group. It's, you keep saying, I did this and I did that. Well, it's not you, it's us. We all have equal power here. You have consistently given away the power of the chair by rewriting the bylaws and creating email addresses for everybody so that the chair keeps losing and losing its power to do stuff on its own and make decisions. So you've taken, under the old bylaws, you could do exactly what you did. But under the new bylaws that you champion, you can't do that. You can't do that. So you could call it a letter or you can call it whatever, it's correspondence. It's knowledge to the board. The board needs to know these things. You can't just run off on rogue and go do your own thing and then come back and say, well, you guys have to accept the consequences because this is what I did. What if there's consequences involved in this? We all have to share the problems with it because you went off and did it. The decision could have been the same. In other words, a majority of the group could have said, yep, you should contact the first selectman, you should get a letter. All right. But what happens is you didn't do that. You did it on your own. So if there's consequences, we all have to share in the consequences because of your decisions. It wasn't our decision. It wasn't our decision.
And it's,
We're a board. We decide things as a board collectively amongst us. And this is just a violation of just everything that we've worked for the last 2 years. It was. Like
and it sounds like you went against what Pat McHale told you to do anyway. He told you to have a conversation, but you went above and beyond. You asked for his 1099s and pay stubs, and then you asked for a letter from his work and all. That's not what even our attorney told you to do. You went further because you wanted to. And you said that you owe the town this. We owe the town something. We get to decide how we're gonna help our town, how we're gonna help our department, not you. And then also to threaten the chief, well, if you don't do this, then it's gonna be on the next agenda. What is your thought process there? You know, and what is the evidence? You keep saying it's evidence to what interest? What interest was this evidence of? And who has this interest that we're gathering evidence on? I just don't understand. I don't, it's like you have your own set agenda that you have, that you just attack when you can. And it's like you have blinders on to everything else. And I just don't agree with it. This just put me over the edge. It was just, and it sounded like okay with you. It sounded okay that you that you wanted letters from his consulting employer, that you wanted all of this, that you didn't even care that there could be repercussions for the person who actually sent the email or gave the copy of the email to Renee. Like, don't you think that this company could be out looking for this person and there'll be repercussions on that person? I mean, it's a document that was in-house that was shared. What about him or her or the group? I don't know. So that just based off of what you said those were just my notes based off of what you.
So Chuck, you talked with Renee about it, right? Renee, are you willing to share who you got the information from?
No. Actually, now,
So I don't have a right to confront the person who accused me of this initial issue.
the text message was sent to me.
Yep.
And it had that little blurb, and this person said, how is it possible that the chief is working full-time here and being the chief of police? So my concern was, we don't have a second in command. If this is all moving right along, then I was concerned and I sent it to Chubb, and I'm pretty sure my exact wording was, I don't know what to make of this. Because in this little blurb, do you guys have the thing? Does everybody have it?
The thing on my phone, I do. You want me to read
So the email address is chief@thecompany.com, whatever. And that raised a little bit of concern with me because I know about Hauser Public Safety, and I thought, well, if it is just a consulting gig, why wouldn't it be at Hauser Public Safety? So that, and I didn't even share that with Chubb totally, I don't think, but that was my concern. I'm like, are we gonna be out 2 people and then what do we do? Like, is this gonna be coming? And I know you can give us your notice. I totally understand that. But that's where I was coming from, is what's going on, what's happening here.
So did Chubb talk with you about what course of action he was gonna take? As the vice chair?
I believe he probably said he was gonna talk to Carl.
And was Jill advised as the secretary? I mean, because the 3 of you are the executive.
No, see,
committee.
and this is where I already know where we're heading with this. At no point did I speak to Jill and Chubb as a group at all,
Mhm.
never.
But the 2 of you spoke, and the 2 of
Well,
you
I
spoke.
gave it to him, so I don't know how I
The
could
2 of you
not.
spoke about it, and the 2 of you spoke about it.
I only spoke to Chuck.
Hold on,
Right, but hold on 1 second. A quorum of a 3-person board that I'm learning now is 2. So it sounds like there were 2 separate executive committee meetings on this
There
issue.
were no executive committee meetings.
All right,
Let-
So
let's
Chubb
not
did
even
this all
go
by
there.
himself without any,
Well, you know,
I'm
for the
just
most
asking.
part, I had absolutely no knowledge except the beginning.
Actually,
part.
Jessica gave me more knowledge than I even had.
So this is what
Which
Chubb
is-
said to
that's
me.
also true.
This is what Chubb said to me.
Hold on,
are-
hold on. We're getting out of control. We're out of
Let's do
control here.
one at a time.
I got a question for Jessica. You made a comment
Mhm.
about the W-2s, the
Mhm.
1099. How did you find that out that Chubb asked that?
Right after I got the phone call from Chubb, I texted the chief and said, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. I had no idea.
So
And then-
you represented the commission.
No,
that-
not at all.
Said, I am so
That.
sorry.
all.
Okay, but.
As an individual member of the commission.
But she did the same thing Chubb did.
You asked, no. You asked the
Excuse me, no, I
question.
did not.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Let me give you the answer.
Please.
So
Wait a
Jessica,
minute, wait a minute. Let's have one at a time. Right now, the floor is yours.
thank you.
And from now on, I'm going to request that everybody communicate through the chair the way Robert's rules require, so that we do this one at a time.
So Jessica
Right now-
contacted me as an individual member of the commission to apologize individually for what was going on. Let me read you the quote. In my first conversation with Chubb, when I said to him, no, I am not a full-time employee, nor am I a part-time employee anywhere. This is part of my consulting business that is clearly delineated in my police chief contract that has been valid for the past 15 years. Chubb Wilcox said, Chief, I hear you, but I do not believe what you are saying to be true. Clearly, at that point, he put me under investigation. He has used the word evidence repeatedly this evening. He asked me to submit to an affidavit about my statements to him. I asked him where such a legal document would be kept. He said his house. He then asked me for all of my bills, my consulting bills for my private business, and he asked for proof of payment of those bills. The police commission is not the board of directors for Hauser Public Safety. He then asked me to take all of my personal time, vacation time, and sick time and formulate it into hours and provide a written response on how I use that time to operate my business. The first time in 15 years, I've been questioned about that. Not by the whole commission, by one person apparently. I was clearly under investigation. He was seeking evidence, and he said I was satisfied eventually. So clearly there was an investigation. I can't do this to my own employees. You can't do it to me. You've received a letter from my attorney that makes everything clear. There is no reason why I need to prove anything at all. Chubb Wilcox used the word subpoena when I told him, no, you can't have my consulting bills. No, you can't have proof of payment from my clients. He said, then I'll subpoena them. The power of subpoena for this board is a very high bar. And it's only done when an employee is under investigation. So unless this group voted to put me under investigation, I wasn't. This is very wrong. Very, very wrong. My attorney has asked you to stop. I have asked you to stop. This is ridiculous. I said to Chubb Wilcox, Saturday at 12 noon, am I allowed to do what I want to do as a human being? He said, well, it depends. The town of Old Saybrook doesn't own me. I'm an employee, a very, very dedicated employee. I asked the chairman, have I missed something? Have I missed an emergency call? Have I not been available for a department matter? Did I miss a meeting because of my outside work? And the answer was no. He said, well, you haven't gotten back to us on your evaluation yet, so clearly you're too busy with your consulting work. I found that statement to be ridiculous. The matter before that I'm hearing is the commission should be working as a whole. Since this current commission has been elected, I have done nothing but painfully try to collaborate with you. I have brought you a work product that is second to none, that you have used to achieve greatness. You approved bylaws that our insurance company said undo them. You undid them. And after hours and hours and hours of attorney fees, who was the champion that finally wrote your bylaws that everyone could agree to? Me. I have done nothing but exemplary work, and I do not deserve to be treated like this. It is disgusting.
I'd like to respond to that. The chief's recitation is, as he said about me, incomplete. What he is omitting is that I made it clear that all I was seeking was confirmation that this was nothing more than a consulting gig. And if I were not satisfied of that, I thought this had to be before the commission on an agenda item. I didn't demand any of those things. I suggested to him, here are things that you can provide that don't involve your client, so you don't have to get them involved in. I would be satisfied with any of this stuff. Yes, any of it. I didn't say all of it.
But what's the key word you're using, Chad?
I would be satisfied.
I would be
You,
satisfied.
it's not just you.
Well, and
My employer
What-
is the police commission
What
of the
you
town
are-
of Old Saybrook,
But
not Chuck
wait a minute,
Wilcox
I
of the
am,
town of Old
I
Saybrook.
have the floor at the moment, chief.
And I hear you, but I'm telling you,
No, if
I
you,
report to this commission, not to you.
but I have the floor and I am going to finish what I was starting to say. I have made it as plain as I can that in doing this, I was just doing due diligence in formulating what our next agenda was, or did I have to call a special meeting? If the chief had told me something like, pound sand, I'm not giving you a thing, I would have called a meeting. And he knew that. I made that plain. But he didn't end up saying pound sand. He ended up saying, I'll talk to my client about sending you a letter. And I was fine. I don't think that is an investigation. And to go back to Carl's beginning point, I don't think getting a copy of an internal announcement from some company is commission correspondence. It is a piece of evidence. That's what it is. It is
Evidence
not
of
commission
what?
correspondence.
Evidence of what?
And I'm sorry,
So evidence is part of an investigation, right? I've been doing this for 28 years, so I know the connection of the terms.
What is
In
the
an
evidence of?
it was evidence that the chief had a full-time job somewhere else other than the commission.
So is this,
Than the
is
police.
this like a topic? Is this something that you've been working on trying to find out? Like, what is, why would you initially think this is evidence? My initial thought
Because I
was
got it from Renee and it was right in
evidence
front of
of,
my
And my
eyes.
concern
And
is,
it was evidence that he had a full-time job.
if everybody read it, it says joining the something.
well, we
group
didn't all
team.
read it. That's the thing. We
But
didn't.
at this point, have you?
And I
Renee.
still would have never
You
said
have,
have,
Jessica, because. you-
I said,
Okay,
I have read it.
Let me go back. Please direct
Sorry, Chuck.
your,
Sorry.
ask the chair to be recognized so that we have some order here.
I'll raise my hand.
Yes,
When I told you that I was not a full-time employee or a part-time employee, that did not satisfy you, correct?
what I think I said was, I think I need due diligence to satisfy myself
You,
that,
not the commission.
So that's the issue.
yes,
though, right?
because I'm the one setting the agenda.
But Chubb, I understand
These are commission.
why you're trying to use the word agenda, because it takes you around all of the bylaws it took you 2 years to create. You're a brilliant mind,
Chief, didn't I, in
but
our
it's just not
conversation,
the facts.
didn't I repeatedly in our conversation refer to the agenda?
You asked me for affidavits, you asked me for evidence of billing,
In,
you asked me for evidence of paying. I think that's a bridge too far to determine if something should be on the agenda or not. It
didn't I,
is ridiculous.
didn't I explain that the only reason I was asking?
No,
Yes, I
Chubb, you
did.
did not.
Yes, I
No, no.
No.
When you said I'll keep an affidavit at my house, I don't think that that's an agenda setting requirement,
Chief,
right? You're calling into question my
Okay.
truthfulness.
Okay, we're being very repetitive, so I'll be repetitive in my response. If I'm setting an agenda, that is my prerogative. I wanted to have a level of comfort that when somebody questioned, how could you not bring this to the commission when all you had was the chief say so? I wanted something more than the chief's say so.
Chubb, I told you we need to hire a cop tonight. You didn't ask me for an affidavit,
No, I
right?
didn't.
So the
Because-
fact that you
With a
don't believe
background.
me when you ask me questions is disturbing to me. It really is. You asked me a question, I answered. Done.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
He asked you all this stuff.
Yes, go,
Oh,
Chuck.
Chuck, may I ask
Yes,
you
you
a
may.
question? Sorry about that. When he was questioning you, did you tell him that you were concerned about it?
Yes, I asked several times if I was under investigation, that I felt like I was being mistreated as an employee. I even explained to him that if I treated my own employees in the same manner, that they would have the right to file a grievance or an MPP to the state or to this commission.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. I think we've discussed this pretty far enough. Let's come up with a solution on what we want to do, because everybody, Carl said his piece. Everybody said their piece. Let's come up with what we want to do.
Wait, can I just say one more thing, just real?
Yes,
You said that when you contacted Pat, that he told you he would recommend just having a conversation only with the
call
chief.
it, he said, call the
But
chief.
you went above and beyond and asked for all this stuff and then whatever played out. Now he got a lawyer that contacted, that's a consequence of your actions. That's a consequence, is that you didn't even listen to our attorney that you contacted. You went above and beyond and did more. And now things can happen because of that. And so that's just one example of a consequence that can happen. What if it went further? What if, like I said, what if this man or woman who sent the letter got fired because of this? It's a consequence of your actions. And that's what I'm trying to get across here, is all you had to do was share this with us from the get-go, just like you did Mr. Forsey's stuff, just like Rossi, whoever else has sent us stuff. That's all you had to
We're
do.
not talking about other things. Sorry, Chubb. Can I say something? We're not talking about the other issue. We're talking about this issue. So.
I wasn't done.
Well, go
So,
ahead.
all you had to do was share this with us and it could have all been prevented, or we could have voted on it, or we could have shared our own 2 cents. And you did, you took it in your own hands. And that's not what a commission is. That's not the whole point of it. That's not transparency. That's not accountability. That's not what we ran on. And so it troubles me that you aren't even acknowledging that you did all this. And that's sort of even more troublesome. And you're battling against it. And even just a simple acknowledgement like, hey, maybe I did go too far. Maybe I did do this, but it's still a battle of why you're right. And that's, again, that just adds to the trouble.
Would it help if I said I can see that people could look at it differently?
I mean, yes, I guess.
Okay, yes, chief.
So I'm picking up in the beginning of the meeting that once you were satisfied that I was truthful in my initial statement to you, that you called each member of the commission to explain that you were satisfied?
To explain what had happened.
No,
No, you explain
just
what
to
happened.
say that a letter was received.
Yes.
I
So
thought it was an email.
about me though,
No,
No.
no, your name was, when he called me, your name was never mentioned. It just said.
and you had no idea who he was talking about.
No, well,
Oh, yeah. They-
of course.
So listen, guys, come on, let's stop. He called every member of the commission, had a conversation about an issue surrounding me. That has to do with my employment, my performance. That happens at a meeting like this. That should not be happening one-to-one, 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 certainly across party lines. A caucus is not to discuss personnel-related matters. It's not. You'll lose all day long at FOI on that. And when you're making individual calls, that's a problem. And so unless everyone around this table is going to tell me, I'm fine that Chubb Wilcox asked you for an affidavit and asked you for invoices and that, I would find that strange. But if you do agree with that, I'd like to know, because that's going to change my course of action.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Let's say you got a letter saying one of your employees was doing something, the same thing, right? And how do you know if you weren't being set up? How do you know if it was a fake letter? How do you know if it was this? I would have, if I was chairman, I would have handled it the same way Chubb did. Because we don't know if somebody was trying to set you up, if somebody's trying to set us up. We don't know that. It could have been totally fake. Because you don't know.
So
We're
can
not-
I answer your question?
Can I say something?
Well, I'd love to answer his
Let's
question.
let the chief.
He asked me a question. I'd love to answer the question. The difference between Chubb and I is I'm not on a commission. I'm allowed to do things independently as the chief of police. Commission members are not. And so if I choose to investigate one of my employees, my job is to follow due process and protect their due process rights, especially if they're a unionized member of a bargaining unit. In this case, an elected civilian police commissioner took it upon himself to conduct his own individual investigation when the first selectman told him to tread lightly and Labor Council told him to simply have a conversation with me. So there's a huge difference. If it was that big of a concern, and he did not believe me, because I'm fine. I'm totally fine with Chubb calling me and saying, hey, I got this thing. And what's the deal? I answered. That should have been, there's been nothing I've done that should have one person of this commission think that I'm lying. Instead, we took this to the 9th degree. And it's wrong and improper. It didn't follow due process. If he thought I was lying, then there should have been a special meeting called. He should have advised me of my charges. I would have had a laudermill hearing. There's due process rights. And my due process rights were incredibly, you don't ask employees for affidavits to keep in your own personal homes. You don't ask for billing information of private businesses as a public commission. It's ridiculous. Renee asked the first selectman for my cell phone records.
No, I did not.
Well, first selectman Fortuna told me,
No, I did not.
Here we go.
Renee
Here we-
Shippey asked for your cell phone
I'm
records.
sorry, but
Is anybody getting cold? Should I close the window? No.
Renee,
Okay,
So who asked for my cell phone records?
in that blurb that I received, like
Yeah.
I said, you're joining the team.
Yeah.
The email address is not at Public House or Safety, it's at the blank blank auto group.
Yeah.
So to me, if you were a consultant, you would be receiving those emails through your consulting business.
You're mine, not
And
mine.
then there was a phone number there.
Yeah.
So I texted Carl and I said, is this a town paid cell phone? And he said, yes, it is. And Carl, I believe, is the one, because I think I said to him, I said, well, it'd be easy enough to find out through cell phone records. I've never made a formal request to Carl, and if you have it, I would like to see
He
it.
came to me personally and
Okay,
said, Renee Shippey has requested your cell phone records.
no, she has
I
not.
said, no,
Does she have them?
no, you can't get them because it's not a town paid cell phone.
It's not?
It's not.
Okay, well, the text from Carl says different.
Well, then why don't we bring the ex officio member of the commission in?
See,
Well,
we're losing, I understand this.
okay.
I just-
We're
But you know why we're here? Do you know why we're here?
yes,
Because we went off the rail.
No.
Joe.
We-
Oh,
well,
No, because-
stop, everybody stop, please. I don't think that there is going to be any new information brought out by furthering this conversation. So I would ask Carl or Jessica to make whatever motion they would like to make.
Well, I would like to make a motion that you step down because I can't see how I can follow your leadership when you keep breaking the bylaws and the rules. It's happened more than once. And I just can't, I can't be, I've lost faith in how you run things and how you seek legal advice all the time. Maybe you're not capable of making a decision, I don't know. But you're constantly seeking other outside of our group's advice for things on how you can move forward, but it's not about you. It's about us. And we should have made that. But anyway, that's my motion anyway.
Is there a second?
I mean, I'll second that, yeah.
Any further discussion?
The only thing that I would like to say is I did receive a phone call from Jessica in April with the letter stating that there was a letter that was mentioned at the caucus on one date and I had gotten another. I thanked her. That's it. That's the only thing that I'm aware of. Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Opposed, nay. 5-2.
Okay.
Decision.
and so is the investigation done?
Yeah.
There never was an investigation.
Well, you collected evidence. You said it right here.
Seriously,
Listen,
seriously, we can't even laugh about that because it is disgusting. So let me ask you this question. Are you now satisfied with the fact that I am not an employee, part-time or full-time anywhere?
I am satisfied that the letter from the entity involved is true and accurate. I told you that. I was fine with it then. That's why I didn't have it on the agenda for the April meeting.
So the investigation is over.
there is-
There's,
Oh, there was, Jill. There was.
So
that
you never had a
that is your
conversation with the
characterization.
I'd be more than happy to.
No, I'm
Anytime.
gonna have a conversation with him because
He can watch the meeting.
I never requested those records. I said they could be gotten.
Okay,
That's what he asked.
let's move on to the next agenda item.
Okay.
Discussion and possible action to enter into executive session for the purposes of interviewing a candidate for the position of patrolman to fill an existing vacancy. Is there a motion?
Do you want to do comments of the public now?
That might not be a bad idea.
Well, okay, with a 2/3 vote, we can amend the agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion to amend the agenda to go right to comments from the public?
There's somebody here, so,
There's nobody here.
yeah, so moved, I would make that.
All right, I'll second
Easier
that.
on Larry too, going
Yeah.
back and back.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Let's go to comments from the public. Do we have any comments from the public? Mr. Keeney?
Yes, sir. After listening to the discussion this evening, I'm afraid, or I would suggest that the commission have a statement about tonight's proceedings, because I'm afraid that in the court of public opinion, the chief does not come out in a positive light based on the discussions that I've heard this evening. And I think somebody needs to clarify that.
I think that's fair.
Like sort of like a press release or like my Kaye apology on the town website.
Well, what would it say?
Like that,
I
right?
don't know what it would
Yeah.
say. I don't know what it would say, chief, but I think there's, for people that might listen to tonight's proceedings, there's gonna be confusion and question.
Well, if we do that, do we produce, is that forward producing the letter?
Well, I don't know. I can tell you that the matter's not done with me. At all, by any stretch of the means. I'll be very public and clear about that. Well, what, Jill?
Well, that's a threatening.
It's not
comment.
threatening.
Of
It
course
is,
threatening.
no, it's a very factual.
It's always threatening.
Jill, did you receive a letter from my attorney?
I did not.
Did the chairman share a letter from my attorney
I
with
am
you?
not, I am not going to be interrogated by you.
I'm not interrogating
You
you.
absolutely are.
Did you receive a
I
letter from my
know
attorney?
you.
Well, and ask you.
Well, we're not talking about that.
So-
We're on discussion with,
No.
let's,
Look,
And collecting evidence is evidence.
Well, you've given that letter to a newspaper reporter, have you not?
they requested it under the Freedom of Information.
Okay, so I'm assuming all the commissioners have a copy of that letter, not just the newspaper reporter.
I am sure that all of the commissioners have that.
Okay, that's what I was asking the secretary.
Now, do we have any comments from the
Were you-
virtual audience? If there is,
Frank, I'm sorry, we cut into you.
if there is, please raise your hand. Larry, do we have any hands raised?
And no hands currently raised.
Okay, then, thank you for the suggestion, Jessica. So let's go into, executive session. It was moved and I think we voted on it.
Mhm.
Well, in that case,
Yes.
Detective Sergeant Williams and I have to leave,
No.
but we would like to be
because
invited in if that's possible.
Right,
I would-
maybe we can do the other one too, the legal matter together.
That's why I put them together.
Yeah, let's,
Who are we inviting in for the interview?
the chief and Detective Sergeant.
Thank you.
We are out of executive session. I invite a motion, concerning the appointment of an individual to the position of patrolman.
Yes, I move to appoint Robert Thomas to the position of patrolman upon successful completion of the hiring process at a date and time to be determined by the chief of police.
second.
Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay, we've already had comments from the public. Let's go to comments from the chief.
Sure, real quick, just want to try to end on a positive note this evening. Pleased to report that Patrolman Brian Mora was the recipient of the 2024 Exchange Club Officer of the Year Award. Kind of came up on this quick this year. So we surprised him. It was great. He was actually field training Mr. Moriarty, a recent graduate from the police academy. So he was called to Luigi's to investigate a fraud, and they sent him upstairs. And in fact, it was a fraud because that was not his call. And so a member of the exchange club, Bernadette, who's our coordinator and our liaison, she met him and said, "I'm so worried this was stolen." He's like ready to go, and poor Moriarty thought this was going to be the big case, and then everyone shouted surprise. And so it was really great. He has come a very long way in a very short amount of time. As I've reported to the commission previously, he's now a field training officer. And so we're just super proud of him. He has contributed so much. His first language, as everyone knows, is Spanish. So English was a second language of his, but he has done so much for us in a short amount of time just because he is bilingual. And so whether it's our holiday tours where our Spanish speaking only families come and actually can get a tour now, because he can speak, or whether he's at the back to school events and he's connecting with children that only speak Spanish, you watch their eyes light up because they can see themselves in their department. And Patrolman Mora has really become an asset in the region. So not a lot of the departments in this area have Spanish speaking officers. And I'm sure everyone read that article or saw it on the news about that crazy kidnapping in Clinton. Patrolman Morris, the one who cracked that case. There was no Spanish speaking officers there. He was on duty. He was called over there. He figured out exactly what was going on. He got the victim to safety and helped the Clinton police to figure out who should get arrested for what. And those are serious felonies. There were gun charges, abduction from New York. I mean, that was serious stuff. And without him, that would not have been solved. And so I would ask, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to draft a letter on behalf of the commission congratulating Patrolman Mora for receiving this honor. And if I could do that and show it to you,
Yep.
but maybe the commission could vote to do that, I think that'd be great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
You want a
comments?
motion to,
Yes, I move
I'll
to
second.
draft the letter.
Oh, you're going to, I thought Chuck was through.
Well, first, let's amend the agenda so that we can do that. Let's, everybody raise your hand to. Okay. Now, we have the motion, we have the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Comments from commissioners? Anyone?
I appreciate you letting me vent tonight. It really was bothersome and I don't have to lose any more sleep over it because
And I'm sorry that
everybody
everybody lost
heard
her.
me. So, thank you.
Any others?
I'd just like to say that I'm gonna support Linnell, the flagman, to the bitter end. I love when he's standing out there. I toot at him every time. That's such a sad thing that he goes through. I see him at, Big Y every once in a while, and boy, he's got a big grin on his face, always smiling. It was so sad what happened to him, and I just want to support him 100%.
Yeah, thank you. And obviously the department chose to make that arrest the right thing to do. There's been 2 arrests of that nature in the past 2 years. And every time the department's received a complaint about racial bias, we have taken enforcement action. He's a special person, part of the fabric of the community, but I do not, as the police chief, I do not have any tolerance whatsoever for discriminatory comments like that. It will not happen in Old Saybrook. If we hear about it happening, there will be enforcement.
And he's not doing anything wrong.
He's doing absolutely nothing wrong. He's a proud American. We're proud to have him as a citizen.
Smiling, and every time we go
Oh,
by,
God.
he says, doggy, doggy.
And somebody bought him an umbrella
Umbrella.
so that
Flag
he can,
Yeah,
It was a
Yeah,
Westbrook
no,
citizen who.
that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
okay. Any other comments? Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.